Yep, that's a dirty camera. So, for the past 2 days, I have been doing something a little bit different. And it's not for me, it is for Louie. He bought this E36 coupe chassis probably about a year ago now. It's got a M3 rear. It is caged. It did come with a driver's seat. It's got a Haltech ECU and all the goodies. Set up to drift. It's a drift car. It also has a 1J swap. So it supposedly has a bad turbo. We are waiting for the core for the turbo to come in so that I can finish putting the rest of it back together. But because I've been working on this and putting his turbo E36 together, it's made me jealous. And I really want to get my turbo E36 back together. Granted, it's just the factory BMW motor, but it is ready to go back together. So I've got my injectors here. I cleaned and flow tested them. I didn't really see anything in the data that like crazily stood out. There was one injector that flowed a little bit more than the rest of them, but they were all within a range, within 5 to 10% of each other. So I wasn't really worried about that. My engine harness that I have been running and that I just put these power wires back together on is out of my car. And today the goal is to get this spare harness, installed on my car along with my intake manifold and injectors. Hopefully I get to start it. But if I don't, I don't. It's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm trying to get ready for an event or anything. So while I had this off, I did a couple things. This ground that I had going up to here, which was also the ground for my coolant temp sensor, this guy. As you can see, it continues to break off and break off and break off. So I'm going to try and fix it one more time. And I actually turned this into a little ground post. So I'm going to try and fix that one more time. And I added a ground that will go to this side of the engine somewhere. So this side of the engine is grounded and the other side of the engine will be grounded. I'll probably put this one to the head since the other side goes to the block. So I don't know. We'll see when I start putting it all back together. Yeah, so that ground, and then I replaced this turbo feed line because this one, you can see how it's a little wet around here, was leaking out of the top of this seal. So replace that. Also, that one is a little bit nicer because this one is not coated with anything. It is just the raw weaved, I would imagine it's stainless. When I was running a metal cover, it actually would dig into the metal cover and you could see the mark that the hose left. This one is actually coated in plastic, so it should have a little bit better like resistance to digging into stuff. Not that I really want it touching anything. I'll probably add a clamp on to this bolt right here just to like hold it up and away, but I replaced that. I also took this, used to be on a banjo fitting that went to the Vanos feed line. And I just, reading on the internet, the Vanos needs a certain amount of oil pressure to function, essentially. So by taking some of that oil pressure away and giving it to the turbo, the Vanos can not function. Well, not that it can't function, but it has less oil pressure to do the thing that it's trying to do. So changing things up a little bit, instead of stealing the oil pressure for the turbo from the Vanos solenoid, I'm now stealing it from the oil pressure sensor. So this is a rally road fitting, and it adds the banjo is the same thread pitch as the oil pressure sensor, and then it has a little T off of it that the oil pressure sensor screws into. I may have to clock that a little bit depending on if I can get the sensor connected or not, because as you can see, it's kind of, I probably should have had it turned up a little bit more, but we'll see when I get there. But that's kind of where I'm at today. So I'm going to shut up and get to work because I want to drive this car. Okay, so I've got the new harness laid out in the engine bay. I kind of attached over here. I did these two plugs. Now, previously, I had a manual harness in there because this whole drivetrain was initially out of a manual transmission car, but this was an automatic car, and the harness that is being donated is from an automatic car. So here there is two plugs. This one is the automatic plug. As you can see, it was not previously connected by the corrosion on those pins. I don't really need to connect it, but I don't feel like going through this harness and cutting out the automatic stuff. So as you can see, like here, this would be for your reverse. This is for the shift position, and then this one goes back for the O2 sensor. Well, on the harness that came out of the car, all I have is for the O2 sensor, and then this was for the what's it called, the reverse position, but I actually did not need that anymore because the automatic reverse position goes through the automatic shifter, not directly from the transmission. So I still have it on the car. It is just wired directly into the chassis and not through the engine harness. The other difference is over on the fuse box side, there's only one plug. Hence, I only had one plug ever plugged in over there. So it should work. So when I did the manual swap on my convertible, I didn't change the harness at all. The only thing that I did is cut this plug off of the harness and use it to go directly from the manual transmission plug to the wires on the shifter. And then I left this all alone. So over on the ECU side, it's got this plug, which is for the automatic transmission. And then it's got this plug, which is for the ECU. So I just need to only use this plug and it will work with that. When I did the 5-speed swap, all I did was leave this plugged in. all it does is it will throw a check engine light on your dashboard for like shift solenoids and stuff like that. But with this car being on a standalone and it not using the factory like check engine light setup, none of that is going to have any issue or any like effect on what I'm doing. And all I'm using this automatic harness for is to run the motor, and the automatic and the manual harnesses are exactly the same. So I've got it laid out right now. It's kind of where it needs to go. This long one obviously goes down to the transmission area, and this plugs into the O2 sensor. I've got all of these are labeled for what they are. This one is the coolant temperature for the rear sensor. One of them is going to be the coolant temp for the front. We got the Vano solenoids. We got cam sensor. We got knock sensor rear. So it should be fairly simple and straightforward to install. I just need to get the routing in not necessarily the right spot, but a spot that feels good to me. So again, I'm going to shut up and get to that. So the harness is all installed with the exception of the throttle position sensor and the intake air temp sensor, because intake air temp is on the intake manifold. Excuse me. And I'm going to be needing to move around the throttle to install it onto the throttle body. I just wanted to hop back on here quick. I know you guys want to see me doing work, but it doesn't make sense for me to be recording myself doing this. There's no space to even have a camera. I'm up in the engine bay like this, trying to move stuff around. So the only thing you're gonna see is my ass. But I just wanted to pop back in real quick and show you that the throttle that I took off of the car is actually fine. It was just, hang on. Say it works, it springs like it should. It was just this bottom bushing, the rusty one, like I suspected. It actually partially broke off because it was so seized. The nut actually came off super simply. It came off really easily. But the plate itself that actuates the cable goes through that plate and it actuates the throttle blade. So that part was seized. So eventually what was going to happen was I was going to snap the throttle cable or break my throttle pedal. But I got the new throttle body installed. I just need to reinstall the intake manifold, put the injectors back into the intake manifold, and then put the intercooler piping back together and finish the other half of the wiring. Once the other half of the wiring is done, I'll be able to fire up the car, test drive it, and make sure it's all good. I also, before I even do anything else with the car, one, I want to put new tires on it. I have the new tires. Actually, that one's not bad. It's the one on the other side that's bad. Simply because of the track that I was drifting at. But I have new tires right here. So I would like to put these new tires on so that I can donate those tires that are still good to somebody who needs tires, that wants to put tires on their car so that they can drift. I also kind of want to do this, but we'll see. The part of me doing this wiring thing today is because I want to drive the car. So if I test the car and it drives good, I probably will hold off on that just so that I can get back to daily driving a fun car again. Although, unfortunately, I need to go get it inspected because the inspection just expired at the end of July. So I got to put my stock seat back in. I've got to put regular side skirts on it so that the inspection place can get a jack underneath the car. And I need to go get it inspected. Actually, I might even raise it up a little bit in the front because, as you can see, I'm kind of destroying my front fenders, and I don't really want to put money and work into painting it until I know that it's not going to get destroyed when I take a corner. So I'm going to get back to this, and hopefully it'll be much closer to be running shortly. So we're basically back together. I still need to finish the intercooler piping and the fuel pressure gauge. And I still need to attach the ECU, but the coil packs are all connected. The cover is ready to go on. I just wanted to point out how careful you need to be when wiring and putting together a BMW or any car for that matter engine bay. So you see this is clearly a power wire, right? Well, when you come over here, you see this, and one of these, while they're both black, one of them is actually a power wire. And to save myself some trouble of trying to figure out which is which, it's pretty simple to figure out on the BMW because this is supposed to go here, right? It's supposed to go right on this bracket, and right attached to that bracket is a ground. So the one closest to that bracket is a ground. And then the other one is actually supposed to be a power wire. And it is the power wire that goes from this junction box all the way through this harness to the fuse box. So if you look, there's a connector right there. Right there, that guy. That guy right there. And that is the other end of this wire. So it's got a coating on it, but that is simply to protect it from heat. And if you peel this back, you can feel in here that it is actually two wires that go into a single eyelet, and this is just a single wire. So I'm not going to pull it apart. I'm not going to pull any of the loom back to try and see what it is, because I already have this harness right here that has been kind of pulled apart. And you can see the double wire is brown. And this one would normally, see, we already cut this one up. This one would normally run up this and be run with this. And then this one, we extended it. So I may have to cut that one off and extend it a little bit. But this one, even though it's black on the end, is actually a red wire. So I need, the double wire one needs to go to ground. This needs to be tucked away in an area where it's not going to get overheated or melt or catch on fire. And then this one goes to the power distribution block. So although this one looks a little different, it's the same thing. This tuck it away somewhere that it doesn't get harmed by heat. This needs to go to ground. And then this one, although it's black, is actually a power wire. So let me try to get these in place, and then we'll see what needs to be extended or if anything needs to be extended. As I try to put it in place, you can clearly see that the power wire is not going to reach, nor is the other power wire. So I need to cut this down, or cut off this eyelet, and extend it using the wire from that harness. So as you can see, car is back together. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna have time to test it this evening. I need to get home and let my dog out and feed her. So this is unfortunately gonna have to wait. It is all back together. Everything is reconnected. I haven't tested anything. I don't know if the injectors are going to seal. I don't know if the fuel lines are going to seal. I am going to have to bleed the coolant. And besides that, it is all back together. I extended the 2 power wires that I needed to, and instead of having this ground wire come around the downpipe and attach right here, I made a new ground point down here. So just trying to keep stuff more away from the heat, and I don't know. Fingers crossed that whatever I just did, either cleaning the injectors or swapping out the engine harness, actually fixes my problem. I dropped the car. It is ready to test drive. Again, I just don't have the time to do it right now. So I'm going to clean up and make my way back home to take care of my dog. And actually, as I'm standing here saying that, I forgot when I had to connect the downpipe, this clamp had fallen underneath the car. So this clamp still has to go on. But besides that, it is ready to test to see if I can boost again. And if it doesn't work, I honestly have no idea where to go from here.